Hey everyone, welcome back to Poplar Preparedness. In this video, we're going to be discussing this very, very touchy subject of how to say no to people. We have a lot of conversations going around in the community about when SHGF happens, when the stuff starts hitting the fan. What are you going to do when you have person after person after person after person knocking on your door or coming to you for help? People that you may have talked to before, and you encourage them to stock up and to prepare for hard times. And when the crisis comes, they're going to remember that you talked to them about preparedness, and they're going to say, well, maybe that person will have food. Maybe that person can help me out. And I keep saying, I have said repeatedly on this channel, right now, before the stuff starts hitting the fan, you have the option to be able to stock up some extra so that in that situation, you'll be able to help some people out. I'm going to talk to you about how to say no, because you can't say yes to everybody, okay? That's the reality of the situation. If things are bad, you're not going to be able to say yes to everybody. So how do you say no? And how do you set terms that are not going to come back and bite you? Okay? I'm going to come at this from the perspective of someone who's traveled internationally a good bit, traveled through India, where there is a lot of poverty, like really bad poverty. And if you've been to any other third world countries that have had a lot of poverty, I've been to a bunch of them. I've been to 49 countries now. I lived and worked along the border of Afghanistan for 2 years, and then I went back on half a dozen more trips back there in that region with a nonprofit that I set up to help people, right? My passion is to help people. That's one of the main driving points of this channel, right? And my personal life is all about helping people through my church and through people I can help, right? So first off, if you're in a situation where you have enough stockpiled enough that you can help all the people that come to you to ask, well, then that's a perfect situation, isn't it? I mean, we're going to get into how you should help, okay? But for starters, if you have enough resources to be able to help people, that's optimal, isn't it? Can we all agree on that? That having the ability to help more people would be good, right? Hopefully you're not like one of those people who wants everyone to die or something, or wants to laugh at everyone while the world burns and say, I told you so. If you're one of those people, please change. Please change, folks. I know a lot of you have had conversations with people and they've laughed at you. They've mocked you. They've called you names. And I understand that's very hurtful, but I want you to grasp, if you haven't been in an awful, awful situation, your humanity, unless you're a psychopath, is going to take you to a place where you are going to deeply, deeply regret not being able to help people, okay? And you're going to have to deal with this. People knocking on your door is not just a security threat. It's going to be an emotional toll on you. If you care about people at all, which I assume most of you do. Statistically speaking, 90 to 95% of you are going to have a really, really hard time turning people away. Okay? That's just how it goes. You're going to have a very hard time pulling the trigger and hurting somebody. You're going to have a very hard time turning people away. That's most of us, okay? So that's number one. If you can stockpile more, if you can stockpile enough to help as many people as going to come to your door, that is the optimal situation. That's awesome. If you live out in the country and few people are going to come to your door and you have the resources to be able to stock up, that's the perfect scenario. Is that where all of us are? No. No, it's not. Okay? I live a little too close to a city of Pittsburgh, right? I'm not in the city, but I'm close enough. I'm probably going to have a fair number of people come and seek assistance from me. And that's why I'm preparing additional resources to help people. Now, I'm not going to be able to help everybody, right? So how do you say no? Well, the first thing is, and this is discussed a lot, is, well, you won't have to say no to them if they don't know who you are, right? If they don't know you have stuff, you won't have to say no because they won't ask of you. And honestly, this gray man scenario, this security, keeping things secret and quiet is probably, it's very, very big. Now, I'm out here on the YouTubes, but you don't know where my home address is. So if SHGF happens and you try to find me, good luck with that, right? Some of you who know me in real life know where I live and know who I am and that kind of thing. But generally speaking, most of you don't know who I am, and that's for good reason. That's good. That's important, right? I need to limit to some extent who shows up at my door. The second thing is, if you've ever learned this in sales, don't really say no. Just put conditions on it, right? You know, if someone comes up and is like, I want to buy your car, the answer shouldn't really be no. Most people react that way because it's something they haven't considered. They just like, I feel uncomfortable, so I'm going to say no. The better answer is to give a high price, right? Well, I mean, your personal convenience is important. So my car is probably Kelley Blue Book value of maybe $1,000, probably less than that. But if someone says, hey, you want to buy your car, and before just off the bat, I would go $5,000 and it's yours, right? Well, I mean, the trouble of having to deal with this and have this conversation and I'm not ready to sell it, but hey, if someone wants to give me $5,000 for it, absolutely, absolutely. Now, if they want to counter down to $4,000, I probably accept that too. But the thing is that put conditions on things, right? When someone shows up at your door, the answer isn't just yes or no. It can be, this is what I can do for you. Okay? Or let's sit down, let's have a conversation here. If they come to your door and say, you will give me X, Y, Z because I need it, well, that's not going to be a person that you're probably going to really be able to interact with because, like I said, you need to be able to say yes to people without it coming back to bite you. And if they come to your door demanding stuff, let's take a real quick guess at whether this is going to come back and bite you or not, okay? So if they demand stuff from you, you can decide whether you're going to push back on that or whether you're going to, I'm sorry, we don't have any extra supplies for you. We have enough for our family, okay? That is true, right? We don't have any extra for you. We don't have any food that we can spare for you. Is that a true statement? That's a true statement. Have I lied right there? No, I haven't. For them, I don't have anything. Okay? And we need to get comfortable speaking the truth, speaking plainly, and directly to the point. Now, how are they going to react to that? Well, I don't know. Depends on who they are. If that adjusts their attitude to a situation more of, is there nothing that we can do? Let's enter into a negotiation. Let's see if there's anything that we could trade or discuss or whatever. That could develop into a good conversation. However, remember how they came to you first, okay? The person who comes arrogantly at first and then begs, are they really humble at heart or are they just trying to trick you? And you need to be very careful in that situation. I've seen that enough times in other countries and such like that, is that a person who comes to you proudly and then starts to beg, especially when no one else is looking, may be just lying to your face in order to get what they want out of you. They're manipulating you. Again, is this a situation that's going to come back and bite you? It sounds like it, okay? So, if you don't want to interact with this person at all, you need to get rid of them, okay? Now, some people here are going to say, bury them in my front yard. Listen, people that talk like that generally have absolutely no freaking clue what they're talking about, okay? And for those of you who have been in the military, those of you who actually been in law enforcement or in situations, difficult situations, you know much better that kind of talk is just an amateur talking from their keyboard, okay? When it comes to a life and death situation like that, it will change people. It takes a very different kind of person and a very different set of skills and training to do those things. And people who have that, generally speaking, would never talk like that. So anyone who says that on my channel, one, I don't take you seriously at all. Two, you're the kind of person that I would not necessarily want to interact with. Okay. So we want to get rid of these people, but how do you do that? Realize that they probably don't want to harm you either. They don't want to cause a scene. If you can do it publicly, to let other people know that they are harassing you, essentially, if they don't take no as an answer. If you live out there a little ways and you're concerned that they're going to come back, they're probably not going to come back and confront you directly. They're probably going to come back and try to steal your livestock, steal stuff out of your garden. Okay, so that's what you need to be hyper aware of. You're going to need to protect the food in your garden and protect your security area. So what are you going to do with that? You might want to invest in tripwires with alarms and stuff like that, motion detectors, floodlights. That kind of stuff might be very, very useful. Trail cameras posted strategically might be able to give you some information. Won't be able to stop anybody, but it will at least let you know what's going on. Let's move over to, you want to say yes, but you want to do so in a way that, once again, is not going to come back and bite you. If you give them a box of food that lasts a week, what's going to happen next week? And a lot of people say this, well, they're just going to come back next week. Well, yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. That's not like some kind of mystery. If this person needs food this week, unless they can magically come up with food next week, they're coming back. Or if they are moving through the area, then they may not come back either. Okay, so if people are refugees wandering past your house and moving on, and you can confirm that they're going to continue moving on, helping them may be a one-time thing, okay? And that might be a relatively risk-free or less risk thing to do. You can really help people who are really desperately in need because they're moving on, and you don't have to worry about them next week. How do you deal with the people that are around you, okay? I am a big proponent, and in the third world, this is exactly what we did all the time, was work for food. We don't give food out for free. We trade food for things. We trade food for work. When I was in the humanitarian situation, that's what we're trying to do, is trade food for work, because these are unemployed people who need food. We want them to have food, but we also want them to have the self-respect that comes from work. And we're going to use that work in order to improve their village long term. So we put flood walls. We put up things that were going to protect them, an irrigation canal, that kind of stuff. We would put those things in place by paying them for their work with food. So we get them food, but we also get them to invest in their own village. Now, that was an absolute humanitarian type thing to do. You may ask them to work your garden in exchange for food. That is a good thing to do. If it can help you improve your yield and improve the amount of food that you have, well, then this could be a win-win situation. They get food, but you also get more food so that you can help them with that food. So you get to help them, and in the end, it kind of just costs you the hassle of dealing with them. Another option is to set up a program. If you've ever been to like inner city, like city missions and stuff like that, this is what they do a lot. They won't just hand out stuff generally, or they do on a limited basis, but generally they will give you things if you get into the program. So if you agree to the terms of the program, then as you go through this program, you will get everything that you need, but you need to go through the program. So if you help people, this is kind of like that Work for Food program, you might say to them, I will give you food, but listen to me. You need to agree to do the things, the tasks that I'm going to give you. Because here's the fact, I'm going to help you with food, you and your family, but I'm going to help you become self-sufficient. And there is a limit to how much I'm going to give you. And I need to see that you are making an honest effort to feed yourself. Okay? I'm going to teach you how to feed yourself, and I'm going to feed you until you can get up on your own 2 feet. But you need to do what I tell you to do. Okay? There is a string attached to this because I don't want this to be a dependency. I want this to turn you into an ally in the long term where you will be able to produce more food than you guys need over the long haul so that I can have a trading partner, so that I can have someone that can help with security. And that may be part of the condition there too, is that you need to help me protect my farm or my house. When I call or when you hear trouble here, you're going to come running. Now, when I hear trouble at your place, I'm going to come running too. Okay, so that's a deal here. I'm going to help you with food, but you need to take actionable steps on. Now, is that more of a hassle for you? Yes, it is. But you may be on your way to developing an ally, someone who is going to be alongside you, particularly if they're a neighbor that has skills, or a neighbor who is very close by that may be able to help protect you and your family. This may be a very valuable investment. If you have a neighbor that is fully self-sufficient by the end of this little program, right, then that might be a worthwhile investment to invest some of your stockpiles in, right? Other people are they absolutely need and are in need, but you don't want to. But you know that they're never going to be able to actually give you anything. Now, these are people that I believe that spiritually and as a follower of Christ, I'm commanded to help people that are widows and orphans, people that are in desperate need, and they're not going to be able to do anything for me. Well, maybe they can't do anything for me, but maybe they can help out in some other ways or something like that. But taking people under your wing like this is pleasing to God and is important as a human being. Because, as I've said before, and I'm going to keep saying this, folks, you have to live with you. At the end of the situation and through this situation, you have to live with you. If things come back to relatively normal, your community has to deal with you too. Okay? And if you are an absolute jerk to everybody and you throw everybody under the bus, they're going to remember that forever. Your spouse, your kids have to live with you. You need to be thinking through how can you live in a way that is not going to haunt you for the rest of your life or make you an enemy that's going to bury you in your front yard. There's that too. So how do you help more people? I've said this before, finding a church or a nonprofit organization in your community, going to them anonymously and saying, I want to drop off this food and I want you to get it to the people who absolutely need it the most, okay? I have some extra. I want this to go to the people that need it the most. I'm going to drop it off at a secret location or, and you get it to them. That can shield you from the people that you're helping so that it doesn't come back and haunt you, hopefully. Okay? Make sure that you trust the person that you're the pastor, the priest, or religious leader or the leader of that organization. Make sure that you trust them not to embezzle the stuff for themselves, but make sure that you trust them and that they have enough up here going on that they can protect you, okay? But that is a great way to shield yourself from people coming back constantly to ask for more than what you can give. All right, folks? that is some basics that I have learned the hard way and learned from others who have learned the hard way about working overseas and such like that. If you have other comments, I know you do, go ahead and put this in comments down below. Please be kind and loving about it. You can be frank and honest about it. And I understand a lot of you are concerned that you won't have enough. And that's a situation. But remember, like I said, you're going to have to live with you. And I recommend strongly that you try to help at least one person, okay? No matter how little you have, help one person, because otherwise I think you'll have a hard time living with yourself, okay? Make your purpose through an SHTF situation to help other people, because in an SHTF situation, one of the worst problems you're going to have is you're going to lose focus. You're going to be under so much stress seeing the world collapsing around you, and you're going to despair, and you're going to consider, because that happens, you need a purpose in life. And if your purpose is to survive, suddenly this doesn't look like such a bad option, okay? So, if your purpose is to get your family through the situation, you're going to be motivated to keep doing what you need to do to get them through this, even in the hard days. If you're trying to get neighbors and a small community through this, you're going to be able to keep on through this. Okay, folks? That's my honest opinion. That's what I've seen in the third world. That's what I've heard and understood from a lot of folks who have been in very, very trying humanitarian situations, from Somalia to Bosnia, through all sorts of crazy places, okay? And these are the things that you need to hear, okay? The CIA has said, I believe, I've heard this enough, I don't know if it's actually true or not, but I believe the truth in it is that if you need to pull your gun, you've already lost. If you need to pull your gun, you've already lost. Folks, you need to head off the threats to your family and to your home and your possessions before they come at you with a weapon. You need to diffuse. You need community that's around you. You need to understand people and understand what's moving around you. And if you are of the opinion that everyone around you is going to try to kill you for your food, well, if you're not moving right now, like to a different location, to a different city, to a different planet, you're crazy, okay? Either you're misreading them or you really need to move, okay? That's the situation. I think that in a crisis, you're going to find people are much more compassionate, helpful, friendly, and resilient than you might expect. But you're also going to find people who are just going to crumble under the stress. And that's just the fact. Some people are going to have emotional meltdowns. But a lot of people are going to put on their big boy, big girl pants, and they're going to start doing the work they need to do to survive. I know a lot of you think that means that they're going to come over your fence and murder you in your bed or something like that. Most people will not do that. But will gangs of people who are willing to do that start forming? And that happens. That happens. Criminal elements and such like that. Criminals who are willing to do those type of things become very valuable to criminal elements. Will they waste that on raiding just random people's houses? Maybe not. So, all right. I've thrown a whole bunch at you. Think through those things. Think through and do your research on situations around the world where SHTF situations actually have happened. Don't get everything that you believe about SHTF situations from your movies, okay? People's imaginations is not the best way to get that. Personal experience from actual situations is much, much more valuable. All right, folks, here's another video that you might want to check out. I'll see you right over there. Otherwise, Steve Poplar out.